talk coming up. But for now, let's discuss, why do we care? Why do we care about personal security, cybersecurity awareness? Why is this a topic of choice? Like I said, daily exposure to cyber threats occur when you are interacting a lot online. I know my parents do a lot of virtual webinars, a lot of virtual classes. This kind of thing would not be possible without Zoom or other video collaboration tools. And it's a beautiful thing that we could connect to people from different time zones in different areas of the world. But unfortunately, what follows that kind of connection is somebody who's going to take advantage of it. So knowledge and awareness is the best defense, because you can't do anything about what you don't know. So that is why we should care. Amongst other things, here are the common threats when it comes to poor cybersecurity or poor security hygiene. You can have identity theft. Somebody can use your likeness. They can use your information to trick somebody else, or scam somebody else. You can have financial loss, which is I feel like the most hardest loss, because you feel that immediately. Once it's financial loss, the money's gone from your account and you're affected. So financial loss is a big threat. And privacy invasion. People that you don't want to know about your information might know about your information. And once somebody knows, it's kind of lost. It's really hard to get your information scrubbed once it is out there. So, in all of this, I'm going to talk more specifically about the topics that were outlined in the flyer that all of you saw. And hopefully through this, I can give you some tips and tricks on how to best navigate the personal security space. So the first one, and I feel like, maybe you've already talked about password security before, maybe it's something that you understand, but hopefully from this presentation, I'll be giving you more information as to why it's important. I like to call passwords the keys to your kingdom. So what that means is that what stands between somebody who's a stranger to you and your information, your bank information, is the password. That is the key to everything. And we have passwords for literally every account that we own. So making sure it's a strong password, making sure it's a unique password is very important. So what I like to say is that no account should share a password with another account. I know it's so easy to use one password across many different accounts, because who wants to be keeping track of this password is for this password is for that? You might forget. I forgot what I ate yesterday. So I feel like sometimes you might think, I don't want to keep remembering passwords here and there, but it is so important that you make sure that is not one key that somebody can use and get into your entire house. Maybe let it be the front door they can get into. At least everything else is barricaded. So if somebody steals your password for one and you use that same password for every single account, now they have the entire keys to all of your kingdom, and they don't have a hard time at all trying to hack you or take advantage. So that is why you should use unique passwords for every account. And later on, I'll tell you how to make it easy for yourself. But the next tip here is to make sure that they are memorable and that they are complex. So what makes a password complex? It is having uppercase and lowercase. It is having numbers, and it is having special characters. All of that adds a little bit more time that it would take a hacker to try to figure out what your password is. An easy way to make these passwords easier for you to remember is using catchphrases or using little tricks. A trick could be, maybe you have a song, maybe let it not be your favorite song, but a song that a song that you know very well. You can use the first character of each word of a lyric and you add them together to make a password. So that is another way. Or you can say, okay, maybe me and my family, we know about this special phrase. No one outside of our family knows. You put some words from that phrase into the password, add a number of significance, but make sure these aren't your favorite, because again, the more information an attacker knows about you, the more they'll know what your favorite thing is, your favorite song, your favorite place to go visit. So you don't want to use something that's very obvious. You want to make sure that it's something that is specific to you and that only somebody who really, really knows you or just yourself would know about it. So what I used here is sunny afternoon. That is incredibly easy. Do not use that. But it's an example. Maybe if I'm somebody, me and my family, we love sunny afternoons, I would use sunny afternoon with the numbers there, and you see the character, which the exclamation point. So making sure that they're memorable is important. Making sure that they're complex is important. A lot of times, hackers don't even know what your password is. They're using some sort of technology to try every password combination that they can for hours, sometimes days, sometimes months. So the more complexity you add, the longer it takes for a hacker to guess your password. So that's super important. All right, so the next one is the most important one, something that I've been meaning to tell my parents about, so it's actually good when they're here to listen to this, is a password manager. If you cannot remember all of your passwords enough to make your passwords unique across every single account, the best next step is to use a password manager. With a password manager, you remember one password and then it stores all of your other passwords. So typically, if you go to a website that is brand new to the password manager, it will ask you, do you want to store this password or do you want to create a new strong password? This password manager is going to create a strong password, really, really strong, very random. You'll never be able to remember what the password is, but at the very least, you'll know it's stronger. I recommend using it for accounts that are not super important. Because once you lose the one password for the password manager, honestly, all the information inside the password manager is lost. The password that you have to remember is actually used to encrypt all of the passwords that you put in the password manager. So you have to remember this one password. It's very important if you're using a password manager. If not, you will have to go and reset all the passwords for all of your accounts. But it makes it easier for you to be secure, and it limits the amount of passwords you have to know by memory. So I would recommend knowing the password for your bank, knowing the password for very, very critical accounts that if you lose access to that password, it will be very detrimental. I would suggest you memorize them, come up with a very memorable and complex password. But for everything else, you store it in the password manager. You don't have to think about it. You can save brain space for other things. So that is what I would recommend in terms of the password use. And this is my spiel on password security. Next, we have email threats. This is a very common way for attackers to gain access to you. I think that there was a report at one point that the average person gets 85,000 emails in a day. A lot of it can be caught by a spam filter. But I feel like for me, that's what it feels like. It feels like I get a ton of emails in a day. You're not looking through all of them, but sometimes when you're trying to look for something important, a headline will grab you where it says urgent or important or something like that. Or maybe it's Amazon or Microsoft because you have a Windows machine. Something can stick out to you that you'll click on it. And if it's something important or it seems urgent, you immediately start clicking things. Next thing you know, you have malware on your machine. So phishing attacks is a way for hackers to gain access to you, but it's also a cheap and easy method for an attacker to use. I can sit up here and set up a program that emails out a million emails in a day and just sends them to all these random emails that I've picked up from the internet and see who's going to fall for it. So they don't have to sit there and do the password thing might take more time because they're having to sit there and try the same different passwords on the same login. This is different, where they can just put all manner of, there are things happening on my screen. but I'm not sure if y'all are seeing these
We can see
lines.
your screen. We can see it.
Okay, I'm seeing lines being drawn on it.
Oh, that happens sometimes, I guess.
Okay, never mind then. Okay, so attacks follow three general practices, which is pretending to be from someone you trust, either that be a bank or a government agency, something like that, maybe even your friend. That is a way for them to trick you and deceive you into clicking something or downloading something you shouldn't be downloading. Another thing like I mentioned, is containing urgent requests. Making you feel panicked is a very good way for attackers to take advantage because when we are panicked, we are not thinking clearly. Our nervous system shoots up, and then all we can focus on is trying to not feel panicked. So in that panic, you can feel like you can make a mistake very, very easily, and that is what they're banking on. So a lot of phishing attacks come in the form of an urgent request. And then emails claiming to give you something. Um, Somebody said, "Oh, I'm going to give you a free iPad. I'm going to give you a free MacBook." Let's be clear, nobody's going to reach out to you and give you anything for free, especially not through email. Most of the time, you have to give something for you to get something. So anything claiming to you won something and you didn't win, you don't know if entering yourself into anything, it could possibly be a phishing attack. So ways to spot phishing attacks are the links inside will be weird. So if you take your mouse and you hover over the link and it comes some weird URL that you don't know where it's going, typically that is probably a suspicious email. Unfamiliar senders. Maybe you've never talked to this person before and they're asking you, "Hey, how are you doing?" Or "Are you such and such?" And you don't know where this email is from. You don't know why they're contacting you. That could probably be a scam. Poor grammar, incorrect spelling mistakes. Those things can also pop up. Though AI is kind of changing that a bit. AI is allowing hackers to create very, very well written emails. It's still something to look out for. And the last thing here is urgency tactics, which I've mentioned before. So, a way to combat all of this is to embody a few different things. Don't trust, always verify. So, I like to say if you get an email from your bank saying that somebody has taken out a large sum of money and you need to click this link, don't click the link, go directly to the website of your bank. So, go into another tab and type in your actual bank's website so that you know that that is where you're supposed to be going. A lot of times, hackers will pretend to be your bank and tell you, "Oh, somebody just took out $10,000 or whatever." And you're thinking, "Wow, I need to click this right away." Very big mistake. Also, don't allow an email to emotionally charge you. I think that is, like I said, once you're emotionally charged, you make decisions that you do not want to make. So it's always best to come with a cool head. And if you feel yourself being emotionally elevated, take a step back and pause for just a minute. Every email can wait. If not, they would have called you. So I like to say, don't trust anything, verify first. So go directly to the source. Be stingy with your clicks. Don't just give them away for free. Act as if it costs you money to click on something. Think of it in that way. That way, whenever you see a link, you're not just, my dad used to be very click happy for a period of time. He'd just be clicking things all over the place. And I tell him, you have to be stingy with your clicks. So make sure that, like I said, you're reviewing and you're pausing to hover over the link first and see where it is you're going. You can think it's taking you to one direction and it's really taking you somewhere else. So be stingy with your clicks. Do not download things if you are not expecting to see an attachment. If you never talked to this person, why would you click to download the attachment from this person? It could be anything. If you're not expecting anybody to send you anything, that also is not a reason for you to click it. So if somebody is sending you something, via email and it has an attachment in it, before you click, if they didn't tell you that they were sending you something, the best thing to do would be to contact them separately and ask, hey, you sent me this email, there's an attachment in it. Did you mean to send this to me before you download it? Another thing that you can do that I didn't put here is you could use your antivirus to scan the attachment first. That's a step above, but I feel like it's just easier to contact the person via text or phone call and say, hey, did you mean to send me this? It's much faster. But if you want to go the extra mile, you can use your antivirus software to scan the attachment itself. And the last thing is security in depth. We're going to talk about something that um, in the next few slides that will kind of explain this a little bit better. But what this means is if you give them, if you fail on one security method, you should have another backup that prevents you from falling victim. So in the future, we're going to talk about multi-factor authentication, or sometimes it's called two-factor authentication. That is, if somebody has your password, gets into your account, they're not able to access your account because they have to also give you another method of authentication before they access. So making sure that things like that help is very important in terms of making it harder for hackers to get into your app. The thing is, we never say that somebody is unhackable. We never say that somebody can never be hacked. That is not the goal for anybody, because these people spend their whole, just like you spend 40, 60 hours a week on your job, they're spending 40, 60 hours a week figuring out a way to gain access. So there's no way that you're going to beat that with all the responsibilities you have. You're a family person. You know, there's just too much going on for you to be a hacker. So we try to make it hard for hackers to hack us. So we move on to somebody else. You know, leave us alone because it's too hard. Move to somebody else. So this whole presentation is to teach you that you want to make it harder, not necessarily be unhackable. The next thing is social media security. I know my parents love social media. It's helped them a lot with their businesses. I'm sure all of you can agree with that. However, it's a huge vector for attackers to take advantage of as well. Something I like to tell people is that you want to make sure that your privacy settings are settings that you agree with. Who are you showing your information to? If your information is open to the world, maybe you shouldn't be posting your house, or maybe you shouldn't be posting that you visit this shop every single week. Maybe you shouldn't be posting your friend's house, you know, things like that. If you have a private account, make sure you know who is following that account. When you close down your account, it's to say that you want to make sure there's a barrier between your information and the world. So it would kind of, you know, defeat the purpose if you allow any and everybody to access your account and you just accept anybody who adds you as a friend. Just like we want to be stingy with our clicks, we want to be stingy with our connections if you have a private account. If you have a public account, you've accepted the risk. But if you have a private account, what I like to do is every now and again, I go and I review who's following me and who I'm following. And whoever I don't need to be there, I need to exit out. Because even if you trust these people, if they have an inactive account, somebody could hack them, they wouldn't even know, and then be using their account as them and impersonate them. And next thing you know, you've given them information that they shouldn't have. So it's always good to clean up your connections and make sure that the people that are following you are people you want to follow you if you have a private account. Common scams, like I said, is impersonation, people pretending to be someone else that you may trust. Sometimes they'll pretend to be a celebrity. Sometimes they'll pretend to be a political figure. You know, different people get impersonated all the time. And these people will ask you for money, or they'll offer you a service. And in order for you to use the service, you have to somehow pay them money. It's very interesting how these attackers are able to convince people to give them money, but it happens every day. And one thing I want to make sure to stress is that you yourself never think that it'll never happen to you. It's better to think, let me just do the things I'm meant to do and hope that it doesn't happen to me. But even me, who does this for a living, I all day, every day, am worried. Did it happen to me today? Did it happen to me today? Because you just never know. Um, Fake offers or surveys that ask for personal information like your address, your social, well, here in the United States, your social security number, any kind of detail that should not be publicly known. I like to think of personal data is if I wouldn't want a stranger to come up to me and say, hey, don't you live at XYZ? Then that is personal information. Whatever you don't want a stranger to come up to you that you've never met and tell you, consider that very, very personal information that you don't want out there. Because sometimes people can have different views on what is personal information and what is not. So I just want to make that clear. Next, we have data protection. So here I've detailed what that looks like. It can be personal information like what I mentioned, your address, your phone number, your email, all of that is still personal information. Even if you do business, it's still personal to your business and anyone can take advantage of it. Even Zoom links can sometimes be considered personal information if it's not an open meeting for just anyone. I've seen so many times joining a Zoom meeting and then some random person comes in and is talking about stocks. So that can also be hijacked by somebody who's trying to scam you. Banking info, medical records, all of that is sensitive information and it needs to be protected. A lot of us have it contained physically. So maybe you have a safe in your home, or maybe you just have a folder in your home where you put things and you know where it is, your family knows where it is, and it stays there. You need to be making sure that wherever you put this, it's not just as easy as somebody walking into the room, seeing it, taking it, and walking out. I like to say, get a safe. I have a safe. But that might not be accessible to everyone. So the next best thing is you put it under something, you hide it. Maybe there's a box with a lock and key that you can get. But you can't just leave, again, make it hard for an attacker to scam you. Don't make it easy. Don't make it just, you might as well, if you do that, take your documents and put them in your yard and then say, hey, everybody, can you come and look at my medical records? So make sure that you're making it a little bit harder. Know your local privacy laws. Know what you are legally required um, as a citizen of your country. I feel like it's super important to know that because if somebody does take your data and do something with it, you'll know what your rights are. Maybe you can get money from them. Maybe you can make it so that they never do it again. And then you'll know what is protected by law and what is not. And lastly, these are things that you can do in order to protect your data. I put here use encrypted messaging apps. That might be next level FBI, but I feel like if you're talking about sensitive things, only you will know what that is, then it's best to use something that has encryption. WhatsApp likes to say that they have encryption, but Facebook is looking at everything there. So I wouldn't recommend it as a messaging app. Maybe use something more like Signal. Signal is a really good app that has encryption. Though there are holes there, it's still better than using iMessage or WhatsApp. Limit sharing sensitive data. In this world of oversharing, where everybody's on Facebook telling all their business or Instagram telling all their business, you have to be more careful and strategic with the information that you share because once it is out, that's it. It's very hard to claim it back. So being more secretive, you don't have to be shady, but being more secretive about things you don't want a stranger to know is very important. And all of these apps that we put on our phone or we put on our computers, all of them will ask for a level of permission on your phones. Most of us just press OK without even thinking about it. I would like you to just pause and read. I think if you take anything from this session this afternoon, it's to pause and read, making sure you're pausing enough and you're just not, rushing through things and making mistakes. So best practices in general for good security, we like to call it good security hygiene, which is just how well are you at keeping your personal security up to date and how much you actually have personal security. So, software updates, as annoying as they can be sometimes because they change everything, or maybe they move something, you don't even know how to use the thing anymore because they change everything. Each of those very complicated changes comes with a security update. Just like hackers are spending 24 hours of the day trying to figure out how to gain access to your systems, there are security researchers who are also doing the same thing to close those gaps. So when they find a hole or they find a method that could be exploited, they release it in a security update or a software update. And that is how you get patches to those various holes. So I always say, if you don't even want to think about it, set everything to automatically download so that you just wake up and your phone is already up to date. You just wake up and your computer is already up to date. It's better to do that than to leave it and then next thing you know, your phone has malware on it, your machine has malware on it. So making sure you have regularly scheduled software updates is super important. Securing your devices. So using antivirus software on your computers, super important. There's a lot that are free that you can use on the internet. Malwarebytes is free. Avast is free. Even Windows has Windows Defender, which is okay, but it's better than nothing. So use antivirus on your machine and make sure that your phone has a lock on it. Please, for the love of God. Don't give them just clear access. Somebody steals your phone, they have everything. Make sure that you're putting a passcode, a face ID, a fingerprint, something on there. Make sure that it is locked because that will prevent somebody from taking your phone and easily being able to access it. Again, I mentioned multi-factor authentication. Most times it is two-factor authentication. You can use text message. I don't know if you're familiar, but sometimes if you're logging into your bank, they might send you a text message with a code that you put into the website to let them verify that it's you. Text message is the most insecure authentication method because they're easily recreated, they're easily intercepted, but it is better than nothing. So I'd rather you have text message than nothing, but the best thing to use would be like Google Authenticator or Duo. Those are authentication apps that will give you backup codes if you lose access to your phone or something like that. But it stores all of your one-time codes for your various websites and acts as your other factor of authentication. So whatever the case may be, don't let it be that somebody can just have a password and access your account. If your account has multi-factor authentication abilities, make sure you're using them. Not everybody does, but most companies are coming around to doing that. So take advantage of it. Last but not least, if your information is digital, I know a lot of our information might not be digital, so the safe is what I mentioned before. But if your information is digital, make sure that you're backing it up. Make sure there's a copy on the cloud for anything that if it were deleted tomorrow, you would have a heart attack. Make sure that it's being stored somewhere else so that you don't have to have a heart attack. But just making sure that your important information is backed up in a different location. You never know. Before I had a trip a couple weeks ago, I left my laptop at home, and I was in the airport, and I was talking to my friend, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, do I go back home and get my laptop? Will I miss my flight?" And she said, "Do you have another way of accessing your information?" I said, "I always put it on the cloud, so if they have internet, I can access that document." I did go back and get my laptop, but if I didn't, I would have access to it from somebody else's computer, and I wouldn't have to worry about that. So it's very important to make sure that your information is also backed up. There's more information on backing things up securely, but we're gonna go small, a little bit at a time. So for now, just make sure that the things that you want to be backed up are backed up. So here are some key takeaways from the workshop before we get into questions. Use strong and unique password across all of your accounts. Like I said, we want to make it hard for attackers to gain access to your accounts. It's very important to do that. And strong, unique passwords is the best way to do so. Use passphrases, use even your language. Like, you know, a lot of attackers are using English for guessing passwords. So maybe you use your own language, maybe use slang that will help you to make different kinds of passwords. But be creative and, you know, either make your own passwords or use a password manager to store all of your passwords. Be more vigilant with email security, making sure that you're stopping to think before you make actions in email. Don't allow somebody else's emergency to be your own emergency. You need to be calm when you make decisions via email because it can so easily be malware on your machine or somebody has put your information on the dark web, et cetera, et cetera. So just be more vigilant with email security. Be mindful of your privacy. You may think, who cares about where I live? Who cares about, you know, what my dog's name is, or who cares about, but you never know who is able to use your information in a negative way. You're not a hacker, so that is not your skill set to think of how can my information be used negatively. You just have to accept that this is your information. It is something that needs to be held and regarded highly. So make sure to be mindful of your privacy. Secure any sensitive information, whether physically or in person. Some people like to write down their passwords, and for a very long time, we would tell them that that is a horrible thing to do and do not do that. But a lot of people, you know, have trouble with the password. So if you're going to write down your password, you don't just leave it under your keyboard, you don't just leave it hanging out on your desk. You are going to store that securely. Maybe it's in a cabinet with a key that only you have. Figure out a way to be creative. So if you're going to write something down or have any sensitive data, make sure that it is secure and it's just harder to get access to. And last but not least, keep all of your software updated. As annoying as it is very important for your own security to do so. Okay, so now we have time for any questions that come up from the audience. I believe I can see the chat, or you can speak if you would like. I don't even know. I think there's a method to raising hands, but I don't know if I can see that.
Let me see if I can. Okay, let when you're raising his hands, go ahead and ask your question or type it.
Yeah.
Good evening. Thank you very much for your presentation. I would like you to confirm to me the encryption on social media. Who does it? Is it me or is someone else who has to do it? Thank you.
No, of course. Thank you for asking. So the encryption I was talking about is messaging apps, not social media. You can encrypt social media, but the app itself will do all the encryption. You don't have to worry about it. So WhatsApp does do encryption. It's just that Facebook is able to look at all your information in WhatsApp. So it does use encryption. It's not necessarily the worst app to use, but Signal uses encryption end to end, and you don't do anything. You just use the app. They do it all for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
Machine, go ahead. Maxine says, excellent presentation. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Maxine. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Hmm?
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hi.
Hello, Stephen.
Hello.
Okay, thanks for the presentation. I wish to know more about the multi-factor authentication, something like that.
Okay, multi-factor authentication. Yeah, because it's a lot to explain in a short period of time, but there's an app called Google Authenticator. It's the most widely used one. What happens is when you go into your account, let's say you're going into, I'm going to use WhatsApp for example. If you go into it and you go to the setting of multi-factor authentication, it's going to have a QR code for you to scan. And then you would use Google Authenticator to scan that code, and it will give you a code back. That code you put into whatever account you're setting this up for, and then it's good to go from there. So there's a specific app. There's Google Authenticator is one, Duo is another. But with your account, you'll have to go into whatever account you want to add it to, and you have to go to the settings to see if they have that ability. Not everybody has the ability to use it, but a lot of very secure websites, bank websites typically have that ability. So that is how you would set that. Did I answer the question well?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
More questions? Raise your
I
hand.
see.
Go ahead.
There's a question in the chat. What's the difference between HTTPS and HTTP? That's a great question. HTTPS is using a secure connection. It's using something called an SSL, which is a certificate. It's a self-signed certificate. Essentially, this certificate is used to encrypt all access to that website. So when you're going to a website, it's much better that you use HTTPS and not use HTTP. So that is the difference between the two.
Thank
Oh,
you.
how do we review our private social media account? So this is another one from Ebere. This is a little bit more complicated because each social media platform has a different setting, a different place, but typically it will be under privacy or security and privacy or security settings, and it will, or sometimes just privacy settings, and it will tell you everything, the defaults that exist and what doesn't exist. If I had more time, I could go over the specifics, but in essence, you just want to make sure that your account is as closed as you want it to be, that the people that have access to it are people you want to have access to it. And if they want to use your information for AI learning, you can opt out of that kind of thing. And I would recommend opting out of it as well. Those are the three top things at the top of my mind that I can think of to think about when it comes to social media privacy settings. But maybe I do another presentation on that because that will be a longer conversation.
We've taken note of that, Stephanie. You're committing to another seminar, so
That's right.
make that happen.
This class.
Can I go ahead with an?
Yes. Does somebody want to ask?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Somebody
Well, there's
wants to
another.
note it.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
remember the Telegram. I get
Telegram.
worried that on Telegram, you have several people coming on that you didn't opt up to. And is there no way to stop everybody accessing you on Telegram?
I don't think so. And forgive me, it's been a long time since I've used Telegram, but I believe that it depends on your own settings. whether you're able to be publicly accessed. I think with Telegram, they can access you by phone number and something else. So there's a setting most of the time. I'm not really sure about Telegram, but sometimes there's a setting of I should be found with this number, I should be found with this email or something like that. You can turn that off and make it so that nobody can just search and find you. But I think Telegram is kind of built to be more accessible. But forgive me, I'm not too sure. It's been a long time since I've used it.
Okay, Bola had asked for you to repeat the HTTPS explanation.
Okay.
Maybe
Bef-
briefly.
Before I do that one, there's one above it. How often should one be updating apps and antivirus? Set it to update automatically so that you don't even have to think about it. If not, I would say you would have to check every day, at least every week. At the very least, every week, specifically on Wednesday, because a lot of updates go out on Tuesday. So every Wednesday, you can set on your phone a reminder to go through your stuff and update everything. But I would just recommend automatically so you don't have to think about it. Now, for HTTPS versus HTTP, HTTP is a connection to a website with no security at all. You just directly connect. Anybody can intercept that connection. With HTTPS, they encrypt the connection between you and the website. So using a certificate, that information is encrypted, and it's just better to connect to websites with HTTPS other than HTTP. So, but I think if you use a browser like Google Chrome, it forces everybody to use HTTPS anyway. So sometimes you don't even have to do anything. But typically, if you see it in the browser, if it doesn't have a secure connection, it'll be very obvious. It'll say, this is not a secure connection. I hope that is a good explanation.
Yeah, she says thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay.
I think somebody's raising their hand.
Okay, go ahead if you raise. Yes, Maddie, go ahead.
Maddie.
Good evening. I want to know the one, the password manager. For example, you are using Google, and of course, it stores all your other passwords. Say you have Yahoo accounts and some other passwords stored there. How secure is
The end of your question cut off. How secure is what? Can you repeat the question?
Maybe how secure is the
password manager?
Yes,
Yes,
probably.
when you have to use another device, if it is your own device, there's no problem. So once you get into that app, it will populate for you just to go on. But using another device, which is just one-time use, is that really secure to use your Google account and allow the manager autofill the password for you to continue?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. So most of the time when the password manager is on your phone, it's using your biometric, like if you have an iPhone, it's using your Face ID or the Touch ID before you can access it. And there's a master password that you have to know and put into the password manager. So the password manager is not open. I didn't say this, and this is very important. There is a password manager on your browser. That is not what I'm talking about. Do not use that. It is not as secure as just using a separate app. If you need recommendations, I recommend 1Password. However, I do believe there's a cost with it. There's also KeyPass is another one, but I'm not talking about you going to Chrome and Chrome is asking you, hey, do you want to save this? You can do that, but it's not as secure as using a specific password manager. So the security comes in that the master password that you have to know is used to encrypt all the passwords inside of your vault. They call what they store the passwords in, they call it a password vault. So it's all stored inside of the vault, and only that master password can decrypt all of those passwords. That's why if you lose that password, you kiss all those passwords goodbye, because nobody will be, not even the people from that own the app can decrypt it. So that's what makes it secure. And it's on your phone most of the time that you have the other authentication. So you would think that maybe it's not secure, but it is. Somebody would need to have stolen your phone, then know your password to be able to access your account. And sometimes they need to steal your phone, know your Face ID or know your passcode in order to get into your phone, know that you even have multi-factor authentication on that account, know the password for your account before they're able to use it. So that is, again, nothing is unhackable, but it's so many steps for a person at that point before they gain access, rather than I just have your password, I got in easy. So you see the difference is that it just makes it more complicated. Somebody's going to give up and go find somebody who doesn't have multi-factor authentication to hack. So that is the difference between them. That's what adds another layer of security. I hope that answered the question.
Very good, very good. Thank you. I just wanted to announce to everyone that this workshop is on YouTube, is on our YouTube channel. And I posted the link because some people are saying, could you please share the link so they can watch it over and over. Please go on the comment section and copy down the link to the YouTube channel, and you can very well watch it. It's on there. Okay, just wanted to to let everyone know about that. And Dr. Vic, you want to close us? This has been
before we close,
okay.
Else?
And before you go, Stephanie, I have one quick question.
Yes.
One quick question of mine.
My email address is here, as well as my website. That in
social media and different links to different things. So you can get to me at stephansec.com, and that is my email as well, stephansec@gmail.com.
Very good. Thank you very, very much. stephansec@gmail.com and stephansec.com for the email and for the website. And then they can, if they go on the website, they can also send a message through there, or it has to be
My
specific.
email is also there, linked there too.
Okay.
It has to be
Okay.
specifically,
Very
yeah.
good. Very good. stephansec.com, everyone. If you want to get the information, further information, question, please go ahead and do so. And she promised to come back. So watch out for the 2.0, guys. Again, this presentation is brought to you by TIMFA Christian University, who is currently accepting students for the spring session, So go ahead and get on, and so we will be able to reach out to you. Okay, we're accepting applications of students for the January 13th term. All right, so you go ahead and go on to TIMFAuniversity.com.
Christian University.
TIMFAuniversity.com. cybersecurity.com and go browse the website. Also fill your application so we can get you started right away. Okay? So thank you so much.
Thank you, Hari. I had
We're so
Stephanie, I
proud
know
of
you're
you.
still listening.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
had one
she's
person that
listening.
I guess I'm gonna breach protocol. I know you passed that. I have one folder that has all my passwords. And I was counting as you were lecturing. I have over 75 passwords in that folder because I'm trying not to have one password for different things. Is that a safe practice, or what do I do if I have that many passwords?
What would make it better is if that folder could be locked, because if it's open, anybody who has access to your computer has access to the folder. So making sure maybe the folder is locked, but essentially you made your own password manager. So I think it's better to just get a password manager. I think that would, and I can give, after this, I can give some ideas or send some to my mom or dad to share with the group. But yeah, it would just be better to use a password manager, and it's incorporated in your browser, it's incorporated on your phone. You don't have to think about it as hard, but it's not the best. It's better than you using the same password, but now somebody who can get into your computer can get all of your passwords too. So the next step, I guess, would be make sure that the folder can be locked.
The folder is locked. It's actually an app that takes notes, and in that app, I have my passwords.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely better than you just using the same. But I would challenge you the next step, or if you want to do brownie points, you would get the password manager and then use it that way. But I think that that's better than what it was before. So I'm actually
What it
proud of
was.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't be a victim when my daughter is a security expert.
You know, that's what I think. I think the same thing. So,
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I see a lot of kudos, a lot of people saying this is very insightful, a lot of people asking for access to go watch the YouTube again. And we've been able to secure 2.0. So thank you very much. We know we can't pay you yet, but that's the advantage of having a daughter that has all this skill. Well, we didn't pay you. We paid for your school, so you're paying back. We paid for your education. So thank you very much. Thank you. On that note, on behalf of the board, the faculty of TIMFA Christian University, and the students, and all our guests, we want to say thank you very much. God bless you. And
thank you.
Thank you,
for our guests, we also
everyone.
thank you all for joining us. Look forward to 2.0. We will announce 2.0 early next year. God bless you all. God bless you.
Bless you, everyone.